Hello, hello. Hey Nabil, how's it going, buddy? Hey Casey, how's everyone doing on this Saturday? I'm just waiting for Sarah to join, and then we can get started. Yo, Bolly! Oh, that's awesome, dude. What's up, Bolly?
Hello.
Hello!
Hi, how are you?
Good evening. I'm good, how are you?
I'm doing well. What time is it over there?
Before we It is 2:30 in the afternoon, which
Okay.
is I need to first apologize for all the mix-up.
It's okay.
Math has never been my strong suit, but we're here now, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're here as well. But how are you? How's your day been? How's your week been, Sarah?
It's been good. It's been good. It doesn't feel like a Friday, but it's Friday. But right? Does it feel like that for you too?
It feels like every day is the weekend at this point.
Yeah. If yeah, that's exactly how it feels. It's been a nice day today. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to all of it. Yeah.
Amazing. So, Sarah, thank you so much for coming. Let's get started. So, I reached out to Sarah to come onto the show. She's been doing a lot of content regarding food and travel, but I actually don't know what you do. I don't know if it's a full-time thing or whether you do something for a living. So, please do tell us all about you and what you're up to in California.
Yeah, I actually do not do that for a living. I do medicine. So I am on the business side of medicine. I'm in the process of getting my MBA as well. I actually completed my last final for my MBA program yesterday. So yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah, that was fun. So now it's over. We were supposed to be graduating this weekend, but obviously things are postponed. But I do travel and food on the side. Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
And what do you do? What was your master's in? It was a master's in business and administration.
Yeah,
Was that it?
yeah, it was my master's in business
Amazing.
administration. Yeah, it was fun.
Amazing. And what's your full-time thing? What do you do outside of food and travel?
Outside of food and travel is just work and school. So from Monday through Friday, I'm in at school. I'm sorry, at work. I so we do the business side of aesthetic medicine specifically. So when it comes to anything related to lasers, facials, anything regarding needles, and just anything regarding your cosmetic stuff is what we do. And I'm on the business end of that. So I'm not a provider, but I do run the business.
Amazing. And how are you coping with everything that's going on right now?
It's a good question. I am not working. We are not open. We are in Los Angeles. We're considered a non-essential business, so we have had to close our doors. Um, we are supposed to open on May 15th, but I've taken an extra 2 weeks of precautionary measures, so we're not going to be working until June, which is kind of crazy.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's great. So how are you keeping yourself occupied these days?
When this first started, I made a list of everything that I've been putting off for the past year, and I've been slowly tackling my list, basically.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
I just wanna touch on like there's so many people out there who are being super productive with their days. And the thing is, for me, I can't do that, right? For me, it's just like less productivity is better than no productivity.
Okay.
And I see so many people talking about let's come out of this with one new thing learned. And I'm just like, let's maybe come out of this with like complete sanity and not losing our mind staying home. So what do you think about that? Are you someone who would like to come out of this more productive or with something learned, or would you be someone who's just trying to make it by so that you can get back to normalcy and just get back to normal work and normal lifestyle?
It's a really good question. I think I'm a little bit of both. Like a part of me, when this first started, it wasn't supposed to be this long drawn out thing. We didn't know too much about it. So my initial thought was, I can just start working out. I can do like a bunch of things that I thought were productive. And now that it's become this long drawn out process, it's hard to stay motivated. So I'm a little bit of on the idea of yes, I want to come out having learned something, a new skill, but at the same time, I think because the process has become so drawn out, it's important to take care of your mental health. And sometimes I can't lie and say that it's been like great every single day. It's been an isolating process, but it's also a process that we're forced to. I think the silver lining is that we've been forced to kind of rediscover ourselves in a different way and get back to the basics of what's essential and what it really means to take care of your thoughts. So to answer
Absolutely.
your question, and stay by day, but then also like I do have an end goal of wanting to like learn a new skill in the meantime.
Amazing. And let's talk about that thing for a second. For example, like sitting with your thoughts, right? Like for people, especially in Sri Lanka, sitting with your thoughts is just like is not the most comfortable thing to do because you're accepting a lot of the things that are going on in your head.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you do in terms of like mindfulness, or like getting through certain situations, like even getting through this situation? What are some of the things that you do?
That's a good question. Initially, I think in general, I don't really sit with my thoughts. This is a new concept for me as well. But with this process, I've been spending a lot of time alone, and I've actually been journaling. Have you tried journaling at all?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
That's something that I haven't tried yet, to be honest. I've written down like things I'm grateful for and stuff like that, but I haven't actively written down stuff like
Okay.
journaling.
Okay, I mean, for me, it's been helpful. I don't do it every day, but I think when I'm feeling in a rough spot, I'll just write down my thoughts and it allows me to kind of think about what I'm writing, because you're literally having to write it down. So when you write it down and you visualize that and you kind of are able to comprehend it on a different level. So that's been helpful for me to understand like how I'm feeling and then also recognizing how can I not get back in that mindset, that negative mindset.
Absolutely. And is that something that journaling is something that you started this time, or you've been doing it for a long time?
I've heard about like the benefits of journaling. A lot of people tell me like when you're going through something tough or like in general, a lot of people journal to kind of just visualize their thoughts because your hand can't go as fast as your brain goes. So when you're able to write things down, then you're able to really understand those concepts on a deeper level. So that idea of journaling has always been appealing to me, but I've never made the time. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on your passions, which is food and travel, right?
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to food, it's in specific vegan food. So my first part of the question is, why is food and travel so important to you? And why aren't you venturing off into all the other types of food there are? And why have you stuck just to vegan food?
Okay. So the first question is why travel? I think traveling just allows us to really understand that there's a world outside of our own little bubble that we've created in our brains. And so going to different countries, going to different cities within, even just within Sri Lanka, for instance, there's so many different cities that are so vastly different than from one to the other. And so seeing that culture, seeing that behavior, seeing that language is really interesting to me. And so just to think about the places that I've gone and even thinking about where they are right now in terms of how they're impacted by this is really eye-opening to think that we're not alone in all of this. And coming back to traveling is just something that allows me to really open my mind to what other countries, what other ideas have to offer. Because everyone has a different view on what veganism is, everyone has a different view of everything in life. So I think it's interesting to kind of open my mind to those things.
Absolutely. And touching on vegan food, have you always been a vegan for your whole life, or has it been something you've been trying as of late? And obviously, you've been doing this for a while, but like, what's your journey in that? Because for me, just to add context, like I'm trying my best to switch to vegan food as much as I possibly can, just because I know agriculture is one of the primary contributors towards climate change.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to make sure that I reduce my carbon footprint as much as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it important to you, and why do you stick to vegan food?
That's a great question. So I became vegetarian about 12 years ago now. And I became vegetarian just to see if I can do it, just to see if I had the determination to give up meat. And then I kind of just stuck it with it because meat just wasn't appealing to me anymore. And then about 3 years ago, I realized that for me, it's for the animals. So once I realized I was still contributing to the death and abuse of animals, I decided that I would have to cut out dairy from my diet. And it wasn't easy at first, but I think understanding my reasoning behind it and reminding myself of why I was doing it in the first place made it easier to do.
Absolutely. Like one of my friends, when I was talking to her about it, was where she completely switched right away and she just relapsed and just went back to eating it. But like she just said that it has to be a gradual thing and
Mm-hmm.
little things will help towards like working towards a better cause.
Mm-hmm.
And reminding yourself is another self affirmation that will help you like get through it. So
Mm-hmm.
like for me, I still eat meat, especially nowadays with everything going on. I'm just like I just need to keep myself like looking after myself and keep myself going. So a little bit of meat is okay.
Yeah.
So like ordering some food from time to time and stuff like that. So yeah, I get it. I get it. Like we're trying to do what we can, but we don't expect people to just switch. Especially because in Sri Lanka it's so vegan friendly. People don't even know it. Because like even rice and curry, for example, is just like completely vegan.
Yeah.
If you don't have the chicken, obviously, and like because everything's done with coconut milk and there's no dairy product or anything, it's just like it's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, like, I also want to touch on something you mentioned before, which is mental health. So, obviously, I'm a mental health advocate. I've been one for at least 2 years now. I used to do food and travel just like you, and then I completely switched into mental health education because I started learning about my depression and where it's coming from, and I sat with my thoughts, which was the most uncomfortable thing to do. Went for therapy, all of those things.
That's awesome, by
But
the
in
way.
Sri Lanka, oh, thank you so much. But in Sri Lanka, it's getting there, but it's still a very taboo conversation,
Yeah.
especially in majority in parts of Sri Lanka because education systems haven't been built up that way, and knowledge hasn't been shared as much around the topic. It's just been made taboo. It's just been made fun of. So, what are your personal thoughts about that, and any personal stories you want to share with us as well?
I think it's going to be our generation having to break those generational barriers that we've accrued over the years. It's not going to be easy, but I think we have the opportunity to have it end with us. And I know that sounds really like drastic, but at the same time, it's so true that if we continue allowing those things to occur, if we continue um, like allowing that behavior from our culture, from our parents, then it's going to continue for the next generation, especially in Sri Lanka. And it needs to be a collective effort as well. I can't sit here and say that like I've done a really great job of doing that because my parents obviously they just came from Sri Lanka. I was born here, but my parents were born in Sri Lanka. And so they still have a lot of the mentality that, it's not okay to talk about our feelings. There's so many things that me and my parents still don't talk about to this day, but I think it's become a gradual process where I had to be very defiant and stick up for what I really truly believe in. I've always been kind of a rebel, so it hasn't been that hard for me. But at the same time, I'm an only child. So there's no like other person advocating for me or anything like that. But I think because I have such a large family and we're all the same age, we can kind of stick up for each other. So my parents have an understanding that there's nothing wrong with her. It's just this generation is a little bit different. So going back to your question on how that can probably be better is just us kind of collectively educating our older generation on why this is so important. And I think it's something that like they don't understand fully. They don't understand the concept of emotions and how they need to express those things because they're so concerned about what the outside world is thinking. I don't know why that's the case, but it's very predominant in Sri Lanka. Like I'm sure that's not a thing where you live in terms of like culture. In the US, not as well, but in Sri Lanka, people, I don't know why everyone is so worried about what everyone else is doing. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I think it's the different societies. So, for example, in Sri Lanka, there's so many different sectors within sectors. So there's cultures and subcultures, and there's just like different like subcultures within Buddhism, different subcultures within Christianity. And it's just different things. And there's castes as well, like
Yeah.
hierarchy of castes. So the thing is, talking about these things, since it's known as a taboo topic, it's shown as a sign of weakness, and you can't show a sign of weakness to different castes. So there's a whole other thing that goes within it as well, and a whole other ecosystem. But like you said, yes, it's our generation and the generations that come after it that keep talking about it. Because, for example, I moved to Melbourne a year and 8 months ago, and that's when I realized that it's such a normal conversation to talk about. But
Mhm.
before then, I was just like, I just swept it on the rug. I would just like, because I've been someone who was judged by family, by friends, by past relationships. So, like, that built a lot of insecurity, but I didn't
Mhm.
deal with that insecurity. I just let it just build up. And then it came to a point where I decided to choose to attempt suicide. And then I was just like, oh wow, like this is a thing. Like as soon as I spoke to more people, went to therapy, all those things, like the whole world opened up to me. But the world is sometimes just in your thoughts, you know? It's
Mhm.
just like you opening up more to listen to these things. So when it comes to Sri Lanka, because it's so caste orientated and so segmented, people are just used to not talking about these things because it might be shown as a sign of weakness, or it might affect a marriage in the future, or it might affect how people think of you to an extent where if people talk too much, you might not get the opportunities that you normally get. And nobody likes being spoken over, being judged, right?
Yeah.
So it's a whole thing, but I think it'll, like you said, like education systems need to change, and which it will. Because something interesting that I spoke to one of my other guests was just like you sustain, or you remember a lot of things from the ages between 5 to 7, and that concretes a lot of like what you think is right and what you think is wrong.
Mhm.
So that's why a lot of kids, when they see older men or women, but more predominantly men in Sri Lanka, sexually harassing someone in public, they think it's normal, and they think it's okay to do, right? Which is something I want to talk to you about as well. Like you being in the US, I don't know what your experiences have been, but you can shed a light on it, how it was in the US as well. But in Sri Lanka, sexual harassment is quite rampant. It's slowing down now because more people are recording people when they do it. People are getting more scared to do it in public. But it's still there. Groping is still there. Catcalling is still there. And the you see younger and younger people doing it because they think it's normal. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I honestly had no idea that that was something that was happening like so often in Sri Lanka. I had no
Oh,
idea.
it's really bad, especially if you're like walking on the road as a female, or if you're on public transport. It's really bad in Sri Lanka.
Wow. Um, I would say that it doesn't happen that often here. I think the catcalling happens, and I don't know where exactly it comes from. I think it's very similar to what you were saying, where if you see somebody else do it, and you think you tend to believe that that behavior is okay if it's not reprimanded, if people are not reprimanded for that type of behavior. So I think catcalling is more common than anything, but groping and any other types of sexual harassment are not as common. And if so, people are really reprimanded for that type of behavior. Extremely
Absolutely.
heavily.
Yeah, so like I'll tell you a story that recently happened. So there was this girl who stays on her own, and basically her boyfriend was in Melbourne, and she obviously gets on calls with him until a bit late, and then goes to sleep right after. And because she lived on her own, this is just a short story. There's much more detail to it, but there was a construction worker who had always been checking her out, and broke into her house, and she woke up one day thinking someone was next to her bed, and he was sleeping right next to her. And yeah, and then basically what happened was she screamed. He was obviously threatening her, all of those things. I don't know the complete detail of what exactly happened, but then he left. And this is during the curfew and everything that's going on in Sri Lanka right now. And her friend came over despite this whole curfew thing because she was scared that something happened, and like she was scared to stay in that house. And they went to the police station, and the police basically said, "Oh, why are you staying on your own as a woman? You should be with your parents, or if you're married, you should be with your husband." So the different cultural stigmas that are seen as normal, where women can't stay on their own and women can't be independent,
Mm-hmm.
which are still etched into different cultures, especially in Sri Lanka. And that was really sad to read because it was just like, where can you go for help if you can't go to your police station for help, you know?
Yeah.
But obviously, there are amazing. I'm not trying to downplay Sri Lanka. I love my country and I can't wait to be back. There are amazing organizations that are doing incredible things. but there's a lot of things to change in terms of education and government systems, just like the police factors that have to change that can help our women and men that are going through this. Because another thing that's happening globally, just not in Sri Lanka, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this as well, is that because we're in curfew and because we're at home all the time, a lot of women and men are stuck with their abusive partners.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom's someone who's gone through domestic abuse for the past, not for the past, but for 5 years before she got a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And she's lucky enough that we had a family of lawyers that could help her get out of the situation, but not everyone is so privileged.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know what you think about, or if there's any advice, or what you think about the situation where if you're stuck with an abusive partner.
During this time or in general?
In this time.
That's a very, very tough question. So I'm a survivor of abusive relationship as well. And I actually volunteered at a police department in Los Angeles to be a part of the team that would go to houses. So when somebody would call for a domestic abuse, to file a domestic abuse claim, we would go there and I would kind of be the mediator that would take the person who was abused and the police officer would handle the person who was the abuser. In those situations, it's much more easier. I don't think it's any different in these types of situations, but I would say that if you are able to seek help, then it's important to do so. If you aren't able to seek help, those are more difficult situations. And if that's the case, I think telling somebody about it, having a point of contact if anything were to happen, having a point of contact if anything were to happen that you can go to and leave that place would be the most ideal. A lot of people, the challenging part with that is that when you are in an abusive relationship, you don't normally say anything for a very long time and you pretend that everything is okay. And so that's where the challenge lies. And moreover is that even if when you are in an abusive relationship and you were to say something and you know that it's a bad situation, there's somehow something that pulls somebody back into those situations that it's really hard to explain actually. But I think in this time, if you're able to escape those situations for any reason possible, any excuse possible, is to go do that instead of being in that household. Again, it's easier said than done, but I think
It is. And like, what I've learned over time is, if you are really stuck in that situation and you cannot get out, there's a few things you can do. One thing is pack a bag and keep it aside and pack some clothes for your kid as well if you have kids and just hide it just in case anything were to happen that you had to get out of the situation. If he or she is checking your phone, just like don't send any text or anything like that, but have an emergency contact at least that you can contact and tell that person that you will be contacting them if anything happens and delete those messages. And another thing you can do is, because there are organizations that can give you curfew passes and let you go around and stuff like that. It's just that you just need to reach out. But if you're still stuck and you can't do any of those things, take evidence. Please, for the love of God, like take evidence at this time. Like as much as you can, record what's happening if you're able to place your phone somewhere or something like that. Because the more evidence you have, especially in a country like Sri Lanka, the more chance you have after this thing is over to get out of this situation. Because I sometimes imagine like what would have my life been if my mom had stuck through the relationship and just like held on to that. Like alternate realities, right? Like who is Sharon in that reality kind of thing? Like would I have been messed up because of my father's actions? But yeah, that's a heavy loaded question, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on it as well. Because it's going on.
I think your recommendations are so great, especially packing a bag and telling somebody about it. The challenging part does come when somebody is checking your phone. But having a point of contact and maybe like a word that you can potentially use or call them and say is probably the best thing that you can do if you are in a situation that you need to escape immediately. I don't know how it is in Sri Lanka. Are there like here in LA, there are multiple shelters that remain anonymous throughout the city that women can go to and stay as a safe haven. Is that something that is happening in Sri Lanka?
So far, according to my knowledge, we only have Women in Need, who I follow as well. So what Women in Need does is that basically doing this with no funding. But basically, what they do is they try and find homes for these women and children who need to get to certain places. But right now, they're just flooded with so much work. But their hotlines are available. Their hotlines are able to be accessed. And these are women who are not being paid for this. Like the women who work for this aren't being paid for this either. They've just started up to like help women out there. So we
Mhm.
don't have like a solid system like LA would have, to my knowledge.
Mhm.
But like I'm pretty sure that women in need is the only one,
I
which is
would
kind of
love,
scary.
yeah, that, I mean, if there's only one in the entire country, that's very little. After this, I would love to get in touch with them and see how I can help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I'll send you
Yeah.
their profile. It's just a matter of sending them a message. But yeah, so I want to know, changing gears into more lighthearted conversations. Obviously, you said that you write to cope with the situation, but I'd love to know, like, what do you do for fun? What do you do to like remain positive? What are some of the things that you do? Just take a load off and just chill.
Okay. So I have been doing puzzles with my mom. I've been cooking. It's been really helpful to go for a drive. So even though I can't go anywhere and even stop anywhere, even today before this call, I had gone down to the beach and just drove along the coast, which was just really nice to get out of the house and do something different. I love to drive in general, so it was just nice and peaceful to do that. Aside from that, I used to paint a lot, and so I've gotten back into painting.
Do
And
you have a painting you can show us?
I don't. I'm sorry. I'll put one on Instagram, but right now I don't. I
Okay,
don't. Sorry. But
awesome.
yeah. How about you?
Yes, I lost like three jobs in like a matter of like 2 days. So like my income stream has been like chopped. But my friend gave me some cash to buy an Xbox, so I bought an Xbox. So I just play video games from time to time.
Okay.
I'm trying my best to do home workouts, but it's like super frustrating because I love the gym so much more than home workouts. But look, adapting to the situation as much as I can. Other than that, yeah, I do this. Like I started this show just
Yeah.
like, talk to people and yeah, at one point it was like I was burnt out because like the thing is these are not just like talk shit conversations, right? These are
Yeah.
like very engaging conversations and like I have to actively listen to every single guest, so like because I have to do that, right? If you're making time for me, like I have to make sure that I actively listen and we have a good time as well.
Mhm.
So like I did it like 21 days in a row and I hit like 106 guests and I was just like whew.
That's a lot.
Ti- Time that was basically six conversations every day, with six different people, which I was just like, now it's time to slow down, Sharon, because you are going to destroy yourself. Because I'm doing a master's as well.
Okay,
Plus, I still
great.
have one more job on the side.
Okay.
That's why I'm in Australia. So I moved to Australia a year and 8 months ago because I'm doing my master's. So I'm almost done with that.
What's your master's in?
Yeah, I'm doing a master of commerce, majoring in marketing.
Okay,
Um,
wonderful.
yeah, watch me not use anything I learned.
There's a ton of
uh,
experience behind that that you'll use instead. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm a firm believer because I've worked in corporates before. I'm a firm believer that everything can be used in certain areas. And it just like I know that what I'm going to do in Sri Lanka is not going to be marketing. It's going to be more social work. It's going to be more speaking and public speaking and stuff like that. But I know that all of this marketing knowledge can come into play,
Yeah.
and all of this entrepreneurial thoughts is going to come into play as well. So it's like, yeah, so, and I have my part time job that I still have as well. Thank God. Fingers crossed that I don't lose that as well, but I still have that. But yeah, busy, busy. I have two submissions which are due tomorrow and day after.
For school.
Good times. Yeah, that's cool.
And then when does school end?
University ends, when does it end? It ends June. So, like, in 2 months, I will be a master's graduate. We will be both
Wow.
graduating in the same
I
year, same
know.
duration,
We should
everything.
have a party.
Oh, we will. If graduation gets cancelled, I'm getting myself a damn robe, taking myself like self portraits and everything at
I know,
home.
I was
Like I'm,
thinking
I'm
about
getting
doing
it done.
that. So what are your plans after you're graduating?
So I am allowed to stay 2 years and work in Australia,
Mhm.
which depending on the job market, I will give it a go, and like get enough experience as I possibly can because Australia has honestly changed my life. It has honestly changed my life. but I know that my heart is in Sri Lanka.
Mhm.
So if the job market is friendly, I will work here for 2 years, and then bring all of my knowledge back and come with a storm back home.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm
Yeah, that's
excited
my
for
plan.
you.
I'm right now. I'm just a nervous wreck when it comes to my submissions, but I will be excited as soon as I submit them.
You are literally, you can see the finish line right now.
I can literally see the finish line. How does it feel though to like be done with the MBA, like actually just like clean done?
It doesn't feel real. I literally just took my last final sitting here yesterday and I was like, whoa, I have no more school. Like now what am I gonna do? What am I gonna fill my time with? So now I have to figure out like that's when it comes to like what I'm gonna do, my skill or whatever that I want to come out with. Now it's time to really think about what that's gonna be because I haven't had time to think about it.
Amazing. I can't wait to see what more you do. And if there's any support, this communication obviously won't end.
Yes.
If there's anything that I can do to support, and I will send you a many needs number as well. Like, obviously, I'm sure that you can help out in any sense that
Yeah.
you are able to as well.
Yeah, I'm
But
super
yeah,
passionate about that. I really do want to get involved.
amazing. Sarah, it has been an absolute incredible show. Thank you so much for
It's
making
been
the time
wonderful
and
meeting you.
tolerating me when I messed up the timings and
No,
everything.
that's
Anyone could
okay.
have just told me to fuck off, but you didn't. You said okay.
That
So I'm
happened.
really, really grateful.
Lovely
But
to
before
meet
you
you.
go, I just have one more question. This show is going live for kindness, so I just want to ask you, what does kindness mean to you in your life?
Kindness means being compassionate and thinking about what the other person is going through. And I think one of my favorite quotes is I'm going to goof up the quote right now because I'm on the spot, but everyone is going through something that you know nothing about. And so I think everyone is going through something difficult that they may not talk about, they may not want to talk about, you may not see, but it's something. And who's to say that mine is bigger than yours or yours is bigger than mine in terms of what our problems may be? So it's really important to keep compassion in mind and always lead with that. So that's my answer.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sarah. You
Thank
have been an
you.
absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise.
Before you go, let us know where we can find you in terms of social media, any future projects that you want us to know about, and any final thoughts.
Social media, I have two. It's Miss California, and then I have Miss Sarah Mac. Miss California is more vegan based and food based, and Miss Sarah Mac is just like lifestyle and travel. In terms of future projects, I really want to come back to Sri Lanka. We were supposed to come back in October. I don't know if that's going to happen anymore, but I think giving back to my country, my parents' country, is something that's really important to me. Last year I did a project, not last year, year before I did a project with Barbie dolls. So we gave a bunch of orphanages, with little girl orphanages, Barbie dolls that were brown
Yo,
because
that's awesome.
it was so fun because growing up, I never had a Barbie doll that looked like me, and being able to associate yourself with somebody or something that looks like you is super important to me. And so we gave brown Barbie dolls to all these Sri Lankan kids, and it was so cute to like watch them look at it and play with it and like idealize what that Barbie doll's life is going to be like. So I do want to do that again, but just make it a little bit more impactful and have more meaning behind it. So that's a project that I'm really excited about.
That is awesome. Like I
Yeah.
never knew that. Like uh, whenever we're both in Sri Lanka, we definitely have to connect up and like
Yeah.
do stuff together. And when I'm in Sri Lanka, if there's any ideas that you want to put through to me and use me as a funnel to get things done, like please, like I would love to help out. You
Yeah,
just have to let me know.
definitely. Yeah, likewise to you. If there's anything that you ask that I can help you with, I definitely will.
Amazing. Sarah, have a beautiful night ahead.
Thank
Thank you for staying
you.
up. Get
Thank
some
you.
sleep. Enjoy your freedom
Enjoy my
and
Friday.
enjoy Cosmo Time. Enjoy
Awesome.
your party.
Bye.
Cheers, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, guys, that was Sarah. Show us some love on her page, Miss California, but she also has her own private page as well. Saupla, you sent that message too late. She just left, but make sure to DM her. I'm sure she'll reply as well. Thank you for sticking through. I only have her on as a guest today because I went and messed up the times. So I made sure that I had her on today. Thanks so much for joining. Have a beautiful Saturday. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. Be safe and be kind. See ya.